What are you going to do with your extra $5?
Jim's tax break?
Yeah.
I'll go to the pub and order slightly less than half a beer.
That glass is half empty.
And I'll drink it to celebrate the banning of non-compete clauses in employment contracts, because it means I can finally start my own newspaper. The job of every treasurer at budget time is to make it sound like everything is great regardless of the reality. And Jim leaned into that tradition.
Speaker, our economy is turning the corner.
The S-bend, actually.
The national credit card's smoking.
We are living on IOUs. Over the next 4 years, we'll spend $150 billion more than we earn. It's actually more than that because Jim has spent a lot of money that's off budget. Off budget spending refers to expenditure on investments, the things designed to make money, not cost money.
Which sounds reasonable.
And would be if the investments were sound. The cash spent propping up the Whyalla Steelworks is off budget.
Oh, Whyalla Wipeout there on my TV.
That's never going to yield a return. Stowe Hydro Scheme is off budget. That project's completely uneconomic. And Elon satellites are about to make the NBN, also off budget, a very expensive white elephant. Once all spending is accounted for, next year's $42 billion deficit is actually $65 billion.
Whoa. Are those numbers sustainable?
No! The federal government's books are just like our household budgets. If we spend more than we earn, we end up with debt. And the spendathon that started with COVID means Australia's debt pile is going to hit the magical $1 trillion mark next year.
Well, that's not how Jim put it.
No, if you listen to Dr. Chalmers, you'd think debt's going down.
Gross debt will hit $940 billion this financial year, $177 billion lower than what we inherited.
Saying $177 billion less than we inherited makes it sound like the country's debt was $1.1 trillion when he moved into Josh Frydenberg's office in May 2022, right?
Yeah, so 940 plus 177, that's, $1.1 trillion.
It wasn't $1.1 trillion. The pre-election outlook prepared by Treasury under the Charter of Budget Honesty says it was $906 billion. Jim's $177 billion reduction refers to the fact that back in 2022, we expected debt in 2025 to be $1.1 trillion. So the $940 billion debt we have now is less than we thought it would be 3 years ago, but still more than when Anthony Albanese won the election.
I feel we need a flux capacitor.
Jim travelled into the past to find a hypothetical future so he could compare it to the actual present.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Wasn't the only time he gilded the lily.
Achieved through a combination of spending restraint, finding savings and banking revenue upgrades.
Let's look at those savings. The total federal budget in 25-26, that's the cost of running the entire federal government for 12 months, is $785 billion. The savings identified,
including another $2 billion in this budget.
Even Ralph Wiggum knows that's not much chop.
I dress myself.
The better than expected debt position isn't because of spending restraint or savings, it's because of these guys.
Think big.
Big royalties and big company tax. Even with those windfall revenues, we're still spending more than we earn, and because of that, debt will hit $1.2 trillion by the end of the decade. Over the next 4 years, the annual cost of debt management is rocketing by $10 billion. That $36 billion we'll be paying in interest every year come 2028 is almost as much as we're scheduled to spend on Medicare and 3 times as much as we'll spend on the Royal Australian Air Force. Servicing our outstanding loans is the fastest growing expense. It's clipping even the NDIS, and it'll be the reason we lose our shirts. Well, the Treasurer does.
I don't know about that front page today. It was a bit confronting.
Never mind. He'll be fine.
Now, all of this means that the soft landing that we have been planning for and preparing for is now looking more and more likely.
That soft stuff we're landing in isn't going to smell like Teen Spirit.
That is one big pile of shit.
I'm Ben Harvey.
And my head hurts.